Namaskar, I'm Gaurish Borkar. We all wonder about the power in Panchamahabhutas, and the Vedic culture offers a lot of importance to Panchamahabhutas. So sometimes we think, or sometimes people question about the importance of Panchamahabhutas, why they are so critical, do they really have the energy, are they really powerful, and so on and so forth. And then the question is there any valid proof that they are energy forms or not? The next question that comes to our mind is how do we worship them? Is there any importance? Are there any activities that we can conduct, or are there any rituals that we can perform to worship the Panchamahabhutas? The Vedic culture speaks about Yatha Pinde, Tatha Brahmande, Yatha Brahmande, Tatha Pinde. So the question is, when we have all these Panchamahabhutas outside, do we also have them inside, and how do they really make an impact? So we are going to discuss all these things about Panchamahabhutas in today's discussion. Panchamahabhutas, when we speak about, like I have mentioned this so many times, we have Akashat Vayu, so Akasha, Vayu, Vayoragnehe. Then we have Agni, which is fire. Vayu is air. We have Agni, Agner, Apaha. Apa is water. Or when we look at Panchamahabhutas from the point of view of states of matter, we have plasma, which is Akasha. Then we have Vayu, which is air or gas. Then we have Apa, which is liquid. The fire is heat, which actually helps to change the energy levels. Then we have water, and then we have Prithvi, which is a solid state. So when we speak about states of matter, we have plasma state, then we have gaseous state, then we have liquid state, we have solid state, and latent heat, which actually helps to transform the state. This is how when we look at it from the point of view of matter. Now when we look at it from the uh, appreciation of them in the nature, we have plasma or akasha, which are actually sun rays or the flame of the fire. Then we have vayu, which are various gases or air. Then we have heat, which is actually the heat created by a flame or a sunlight. Then we have uh, apa, which is water. And then we have prithvi, which is soil, minerals, sand, and so on and so forth. So you may look at it from two different perspectives. One is the states of matter, and the other is expression of various states of matter of which the nature is composed of. So these are the two very high level approaches to look at the Panchamahabhutas. The same way we can also look at Panchamahabhutas in the body. So in this discussion we are also going to look at how do we worship Panchamahabhutas. Are there any rituals? Are there any festivals which encourage us to worship Panchamahabhutas? Okay, so this is what we are going to actually discuss in today's discussion, today's video, today's class session. Okay, so when we look at it about in Panchamahabhutas, about Panchamahabhutas, when we discuss, the first thing that comes to our mind is the force, because they are large, so they have a lot of force in them, and that force can actually make or break things. For example, Vayu, when it is in force, a storm is created, and when a storm is created, it can destroy many things. So that's the force that we have. When we speak about Apa, there are waves, flood. There is ample amount of force which actually can destroy things. So when we speak about Prithvi Mahabhuta, earthquake, there is the earth is shaken, many things are broken. Okay, so that way. The sunlight, right? When the temperature goes up, things burn. So these are the forces. When we look at them at a very high level, these are various forces which can make or break things. And that's why people say we can't do much in front of the nature, because it's mighty, it's powerful, and every form has an ability to destroy. However, humans and the modern science is so capable that it has also figured out ways to make use of Panchamahabhutas. And because of the modern science, we can also present them in the form of energy, in the form of power. For example, when we look at Prithvi Mahabhuta, fossil fuels, they get converted. Everything nowadays can be converted into electricity, and that is one common form that can demonstrate the conversion of any Mahabhuta into an energy. So fossil fuels, oil and natural gas, it can be used to generate electricity. Prithvi Mahabhuta, you get fossil fuels deep inside the earth. So when it gets converted, you get Prithvi Mahabhuta, energy, power from Prithvi Mahabhuta. Water, we all know we have hydroelectric projects where the flow of water is used to convert that force into the energy, which is electricity. So conversion of force into electricity. So hydroelectric projects, thermal power projects. So when you actually use the fossils, we burn them, and then that gets converted into electricity. So any type of heat. We have this is why Agni Mahabhuta becomes important, because it actually transforms something into the form of energy. We have windmills. The windmills actually, basically the turbines, uh, those are very useful to convert the wind energy into electricity. So we already call them as energy, right? Wind energy. So that gets converted into electricity. Then we have solar energy. Solar energy also is energy. It converts the sunlight into the form of electricity. So basically we can generate because they have force, we can generate electricity from all the Mahabhutas. And that is how we can call them, as they are forms of energy. Now when we look at this, all of these are the forms which doesn't impact the living beings. However, when we look at living beings, they offer energy in different forms. For example, Prithvi Mahabhuta, food. Without food, most of the living beings can't survive. Their food might be different, but mainly it is of Prithvi Mahabhuta. Humans, Prithvi Mahabhuta. All animals around us, they eat some matter which is solid. Prithvi Mahabhuta. Whether they are carnivorous or herbivorous or omnivorous, they eat something which is solid. Prithvi Mahabhuta. Jala Mahabhuta, water. Aquatic animals, non-aquatic animals, all of them. Basically, Prithvi and Jala combination is extremely important for the living beings. Why? Because that is where the entire vegetation is. Without water, most of the vegetation can't survive. Without Prithvi, most of the vegetation can't survive. And that's why the Prithvi is called Mata, because it has an ability to germinate seeds. That's why it is called Bhumata. It germinates. It has that ability. And that's why Prithvi Mahamata. There are so many species, animals, insects inside the Prithvi. So Prithvi is considered as the Bhumata. So we have that energy of creation, germination in the soil, and it also requires water to grow, to expand, and that also becomes food for others. Herbivorous animals eat the plants for their survival. So again, Prithvi plants are Prithvi and Jala combination. So of course they have Panchamahabhutas, but mainly they are a combination of Prithvi and Jala. So we have the impact of Prithvi on us is food. The impact of Apa on us is the water. Without water, we can't really survive. Most of us, most of the animal species, water is required. Then we have Vayu. Oxygen is required. Some kind of air, gas is required. Either the gas is taken or the gas is released. Okay. For example, photosynthesis. CO2 is taken, oxygen is released. We take oxygen, we release carbon dioxide. So without gas or without Vayu, there is no survival. Imagine that gas is just maintained inside your body. What happens to all of us, right? So gas has to come out, and gas has also to go in, and that's exactly where the Vayu Mahabhuta is important. So without Vayu Mahabhuta, we can't survive. Not even just oxygen, because imagine you don't take oxygen, or you take oxygen but CO2 is not released out. What would happen? So Vayu Mahabhuta is essential for survival. In fact, in our literature, there are 5 types of Vayus inside the body. I'm not going to go into the details of the types of Vayus and all, because that's a totally different subject. But when we look at Vayu, uh, and even if we look at it scientifically, we can understand the carbon dioxide and oxygen. And all our vehicles are releasing carbon monoxide, which is a type of pollution that is being created because we don't have a species yet which can handle that. So that has become a pollution. Here, what we release, CO2, is managed by plants. So that just works out well if we have enough plant ecosystem. Okay. Then the next one that we have is Akash, and that is the sunlight. Without sunlight, survival is very difficult. There is a huge impact of sunlight on the emotional aspect of human beings. People who are actually very close to the in the tropical region, right? Their emotional system is much better than people who live very close to the nodes because of the sunlight. This has been proven. We release so many hormones when we actually get sunlight. And if we don't get, these are all happiness hormones. So happiness hormones are released when we get sunlight, when we get into sunlight early morning, right? And that's why D, vitamin D, D3 is required. So for calcium and so many things. But even other than that, there are many hormones which are released just because we get sunlight. Just because we get into the sunlight. Even you would be surprised, we have nowadays UV blocking uh, sunscreen lotions, right? However, it has been proven that a little bit of UV rays are beneficial to humans. So early morning sunlight is useful because of this. And that is how the Akasha Mahabhuta and Agni Mahabhuta both are required and useful to the human body. The whole principle or the purpose is the human body is made of Panchamahabhutas. So when you actually get enough energy from the surroundings, the Panchamahabhutas will function so much better. If it doesn't get, certainly it won't. You would be surprised to, or you might see this observation, if see if it coincides with you, that many people who live very close to the seashore, they are much more relaxed. They generally have fun in their life and so on. Many coasts are like this. The reason behind it is they get lot of sunlight. And as we go away from the tropical region uh, towards the node, the sunlight is reduced, and that is where the emotional issues crop up. And that's extremely important to understand that sunlight is so much important to us. Even the calcium in our body is not properly utilized if we have D3 efficiency. Vitamin D3 is important and critical for the utilization of calcium. So even if you have optimum calcium levels, however your D3 is low, then that is not effective. And then happiness hormones, which is most important, right? Many happiness hormones are released when you get exposed to the sunlight. And that's why the more you go towards the nodes, the more emotional issues crop up. Or people who don't get into the sunlight, even nowadays, forget about even tropical people, they don't get into the sunlight. They live at home most of the time. They don't experience the sunlight. Emotional issues are highly correlated because of the many happiness hormones. Not only serotonin, but many other happiness hormones are also released just when you get exposed to the sun. So, this is about the impact of the Panchamahabhutas on the body. Now, the next part is, do we have any mechanism where we used to worship or we shall worship, and how do we worship the Panchamahabhutas? The answer is yes. There are many different festivals in Vedic culture which are targeted towards the worship of Panchamahabhutas. For example, Naradi Purnima. On this occasion, we are supposed to go in the sea and offer a coconut to the sea. That is just because the waves are too high before during the monsoon season, before Naradi Purnima, and the request is done to make sure that uh, the waves don't trouble us anymore. And that's exactly where the Jala Mahabhuta is worshipped. We have many occasions like Ganga Pujan where we go and worship the rivers. Not even Ganga river, but many different rivers. Narmada, people go and worship Narmada and do Narmada Parikrama. So, worshipping Apa Mahabhut is a part of we actually worship Ganga Jal and keep it in our uh, home, at our home, in the home temple. And that's basically the worship of Jala Mahabhut. Then we have Agni Mahabhut. We actually give so many offerings to Agni Mahabhut. For example, the coming festival, Holi, we actually offer so many things to the fire. We offer Naivedyam to the fire. We worship the fire during the Holi. So, Agni Mahabhut is worshipped. Food. When we take food, that time we worship uh, just before that, Vaishwadev it is called. It is a tradition to offer the rice to the fire before having it. Vaishwadev. That is daily ritual. If we perform that daily ritual, it is an offering to the fire. Then Vayu Mahabhut, Makar Sankrant. we actually worship a pot, an empty pot. Why? Because there is air in it. The kids or even elders, there are regions where they have kite festivals. Why? It is an offering to Vayu. So kite festival is Vayu. Then worshipping an empty pot is worshipping Vayu because the Vayu is inside the pot. So Surya, Ratha Saptami, that's an worship to the Lord Sun. Surya Namaskara in the form of yogasanas. If we do it in early morning sunlight, it is a worship to Lord Sun. So we have been Prithvi Mahabhut. We actually worship Prithvi Mahabhut in many different forms because Prithvi Mahabhut is considered as the resource. So Lakshmi Pujan is worshipping Prithvi Mahabhut. When we start constructing a house, we do Bhumi Pujan, Prithvi Mahabhut. When we do any activity, just before that we do Punyaha Vachanam. At that time, we worship Prithvi Mahabhut. After Holi, we actually worship Dhuli Vandan. We celebrate Dhuli Vandan. Dhuli means the sand, the soil, and Vandan means worshipping. That is also a worship to Prithvi Mahabhut. So we worship Prithvi Mahabhut in many different forms at different times of the year based on the context. So we are supposed to worship Prithvi Mahabhut. So in fact, throughout the year, based on whatever Mahabhuta is prominent during that particular time, we worship that particular Mahabhut. For example, Narai Purnima is during rainy season, during monsoon. So we worship Apa Mahabhut or water during rainy season. Holi is just the beginning of summer. We worship Agni during the summer. Prithvi Mahabhut during the winter. We worship Prithvi Mahabhut. Ratha Saptami, when the sun, just after the winter, we start worshipping. When the temperature starts rising, we worship the sun. So, Akasha Mahabhut, and during any Agni for that matter, we worship the Agni Mahabhut, Teja Mahabhut. So basically, if you perform all these festivals, if you celebrate all these festivals, if you worship all these Mahabhutas based on the season, then naturally all those resources are going to be back to you. You have all of them within, and if they start functioning well, then certainly your body would function well, your surroundings would function well. So all these festivals which are related to the Mahabhutas are designed in such a way that you become resourceful. We all become resourceful. And if we perform those festivals, then certainly we are going to be extremely resourceful throughout the year. So that's why those festivals are there. If we understand the Panchamahabhutas and their function in the daily life and in our life, in our body, and we worship them, we would have ample of resources for our life. And that's exactly how it has been designed. See if you like this particular idea, see if you like this video. I'm curious if you have any question. If you like the video and if you wish to subscribe, please subscribe. If you think that you would like to listen to such videos, you may hit the bell icon. If you think this information is useful to your friends and family members, then please share with your friends and family members. Let me know how and what type of things would you like to understand and learn about Vedic culture and astrology, so that I can take those topics and present those topics to you. And let me know how you think about the Panchamahabhutas. Thank you. Bye.